Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing improvements to the invasive plant species removal process performed by the Ann Arbor Natural Area Preservation Department, or NAP. The organization that I am working with, NAP, works to protect and restore Ann Arbor's natural areas and to foster an environmental ethic amongst its citizens. The task I analyzed was the removal of invasive plant species from natural areas and parks within Ann Arbor, specifically removing honeysuckle at Cedar Bend Nature Area. The workers involved in this task include teenage or adult volunteers that can safely handle a variety of hand tools, in addition to being capable of moderate exertion levels. To complete this task, workers used a pair of loppers, small handsaws, gloves, and appropriate apparel for the environment, which included long pants and closed-toed shoes. The main goal of this project was to improve the process of removing invasive plant species from Ann Arbor natural areas and parks. To accomplish this, a MODAPS analysis of the current plant removal process was conducted and examined. Based on this analysis, a new process was developed in an effort to maximize the efficiency with which invasive plants were identified and removed. In addition to improved efficiency, recommendations will be made to reduce the biomechanical stresses the task creates on volunteers. Here's a SketchUp model I made just to quickly show you guys the disorganization involved in the current process. While I will detail this process further on the next slide, notice how the volunteers are spread out with no apparent order or direction on where to go or what plant to remove next. The current plant removal process is as follows. First, volunteers arrive at the coverage zone, designated by a NAP staff member, and spread out fairly uniformly throughout. Second, each volunteer attempts to identify the invasive plants among the plants around them. When one is identified, the volunteer chops the plant 6 inches from the ground using the appropriate hand tool based on the diameter of the branch. Next, the volunteer disperses the plant to the surrounding area to avoid piles of debris, and chops up the branches if necessary. They then repeat steps 2 through 4 until the area is clear of invasive species. Here is a MODAPS analysis of the honeysuckle removal process I observed. I included sawing the plant in this analysis as opposed to lopping them to represent the longest worst-case performance of this task. The sum of the motions involved in the task resulted in about 133 mods, or about 17 seconds. Using this analysis, I designed a new process for removing honeysuckle at Cedar Bend. This new process involves pairs of volunteers, establishing lanes in the coverage area, and using a flag system to identify stumps that must be sprayed with herbicide. The new process starts with identifying the size of the zone which NAP would like covered. Next, volunteers pair up and establish a starting point and direction, along with an agreed-upon lane size anywhere from 1 to 3 meters wide. Volunteer 1 grabs a handsaw, gloves, and flags, while Volunteer 2 grabs loppers and gloves. Volunteer 1 will move down the first lane, chopping honeysuckle as they find it 6 inches above the ground, and placing a flag by the stump. Volunteer 2 will trail Volunteer 1, chopping up the fallen honeysuckle and dispersing the pieces as to avoid piles. The volunteers will continue in this manner throughout the coverage area by moving up and down lanes. A MODAPS analysis was then performed on the updated process. While adding the flag placing step does add some time, some grabbing and placing steps are removed because the need for one volunteer to swap between the loppers and the handsaw is removed. While it still takes about 17 combined seconds to remove one plant, the new lane system significantly reduces the amount of time spent searching for honeysuckle, making this process much more efficient than the previous system. The addition of the flag placing step also ensures more honeysuckle will be sprayed with herbicide, reducing the chance that the area will need to be cleared again in the near future. My final recommendations to improve the invasive plant removal process with NAP include first, following the updated process that was previously mentioned. Second, based on the results of the MODAPS analysis, I recommend that NAP invest in electric handsaws if they are interested in improving plant removal efficiency, along with improving the overall efficiency of this process. In addition to improving efficiency, this new equipment would reduce biomechanical stress on the volunteers, as it would eliminate the most repetitive and strenuous step in this process.